As Anthony said, yes, I am Douglas E. Welch. I have a long-time history in the IT world. I actually was an IT person. I actually have a degree in theater from college, but when I was in college, I discovered that I actually liked and was good at doing technology. So when I came out of college, I started doing that. CareerCamp grew out of a lot of experiences of mine. One was working day-to-day with people in the IT world. You have the typical breakdown of the exasperated IT person, the just give me the mouse. And you have those folks that actually can explain things and teach people how to use them. And I, through the years, hopefully erred on that side. And so I really enjoyed teaching people as well as actually solving their technology problems. I, over the years, have become a consultant, as Abby was mentioning in her last talk. I've also written a career column called Career Opportunities for, it's 97, so the last 15 to 17 years. I've been podcasting that same column since 2004 when podcasting got started. CareerCamp, as Anthony was saying, is 5 years old. In those 5 years, we've done 10 career camps in the Southern California area. Career Camp Santa Clarita Valley, SCV, is Anthony's puppy, and that is the longest running career camp with 5. Mainly because of the exceptional support we get at the college and the facilities that we have available to us. For the other career camps have actually ended because we have lost our venue and we're currently searching for other venues for those. Maybe this will intrigue some of you folks and we can bring a career camp to your venue, to your college, to your organization, wherever. The fact is, career camp works anywhere. We've been very successful doing it at College of the Canyons for a variety of reasons, but the concepts of an unconference, and I'm going to go into exactly what an unconference is in a little bit, work in any size group, at any venue. I often am very fond of saying that an unconference can happen in the middle of an open field if that's all you've got. It's much more important that the conference happens than that it happens in a perfect way. And really all you need to make an unconference happen are a group of people who are interested in sharing what they know with others. I really would like to try and intrigue you all, after you've heard my little description here, to think about doing a career camp of your own. Either in coordination with me, I'm available to offer assistance and help, and I can point you in all the directions of the technology, the free technology we use to organize the conferences and stuff like that. Under Career Camp International, that's what I do. By the way, fancy name, it's me, okay? This is my pro bono work. This is my charity that's ongoing right now, if you will, is helping to spread the message about Career Camp, which I think is a great idea, and help other people launch it in their areas as well. What is an unconference? This is a conference. You had planned speakers, you had planned organization that's here at a nice fancy hotel, you've got AV people, you've got all the trappings of a regular conference. Most importantly, you knew exactly what you were going to see when you walked in the door. You might even have known what you were going to see when you saw it on the website once the speakers were booked. An unconference is not like that. An unconference is entirely planned by the attendees who come that day. Okay? Everyone who attends a career camp is highly encouraged to participate in some way. That can to stand up and give an outgoing presentation like this. It can be to host a breakout session on some topic. Sometimes we find that people, especially when they're new to career camp, their biggest engagement of the day is simply having the great conversations with people around the table, in the lobby area, beginning of the day, end of the day. I've seen so many relationships and so much great information be shared during those periods, and that's one I think is some of the biggest power of an unconference is those conversations that get going. Unconferences sort of were developed back in the early 80s. There's a gentleman named Harris Owen who wrote a book called Open Space Technology Format. And there's a lot of different methods that can be used in the unconference. We'll touch on a few of those. Some which you may have been exposed to if you ever heard of Pecha Kucha, or you've ever heard of an Ignite conference. Ignite conferences use one specific method in which a presenter is given 20 slides in 5 minutes. And the slides change automatically. So that's all you get. You get 5 minutes and your slides change and you better have your talk down. And that's just one method that can be used in this unconference format. Each unconference is arranged by a couple of co-chairs. In the case of CareerCamp SCV, we've usually had around 4 to 5 co-chairs. I, over the last several years, have become kind of the co-chair emeritus. I don't have to do a lot of the hard work on the ground, like fundraising and getting donations for the goodie bags and stuff like that. We've had people who are much better at it than I am, and they've really stepped up in that way to do that. I provide a lot of technical support, actually, basing back on my IT career. I set up the blogs, I do all the ticketing, I do the Twittering and all this stuff, and that's what I bring to my co-chair, along with the idea in general. It's sponsored, and I think this is very important, Unconferences are sponsored by the local community. This is all about your local community coming together and sharing what they know with each other. You can do unconference type things online to huge audiences, but we have found it so effective to call on our local businesses, our local organizations, our local colleges, and our local people and bring out the knowledge that's already inherent in that environment. It just needs to be cultivated. For most unconferences, there's usually stated 3 rules. Okay? Now, these are not hard and fast rules, and sometimes there are 5, and sometimes there's 1 rule, and sometimes there's no rules at all for an unconference. I actually was introduced to the unconference format through a series of unconferences called BarCamps. And these are much more freewheeling, usually organized around technical issues, but I've seen presentations on the history of the pixel in art. I've seen a scotch tasting. I actually participated in a scotch tasting. I have seen makers show about robots they built and a whole variety of other things. So there's a variety of methods that you can use from BarCamp, and I saw BarCamp work. That was the most important thing for me. I was engaged, went to about 5 or 6 of them in the LA area. They're held all over the world, and I saw how it works. So the first time you do it, you can be really skeptical. You're like, how can this possibly come together? And now maybe it's my theater background. There's a thing in theater when about 3 weeks before the show is ready to open, it just falls apart completely, and you're like, everyone's walking around going, this show can never go up because it just isn't going to work. And then it all comes together. Unconferences have much the same feel about them. You're like, there's no way this can work. And yet, when you put the success of a conference in the hands of the people coming, it works. And we've really found that over the 10 that we've done, and the more, the 6 or 7 that I've been involved with in other ways, it's quite amazing how well it comes together. Now, what I'd like you to do, too, just to get us started here a little bit, is we're going to come back to this question later. Take a moment to think about one career-related thing you wished you could tell everyone at the conference today. If you were standing right here and had everyone in the room, what would you want to tell them? What would you say if you had 15 seconds of everybody's attention? Because really, that is the heart of an unconference. You'll see throughout my presentation some pictures from CareerCamp SCV over the last several years. 3 rules. And again, these aren't necessarily hard and fast rules, but these are the 3 rules that we... Hello, computer. What are you doing? That we have come up with. First and most important to me is no A-listers, or the converse, everybody's an A-lister. Unconferences, by their very nature, do not have keynotes. They do not have planned announced speakers. They don't have the big guy coming in to talk about what's important in the world. Everyone who attends a CareerCamp is an A-lister. Everyone potentially has something to share with those around us. I'm very fond of saying that an expert is anyone with one more great idea or one more experience than someone else. Because if they have that, someone else wants and in fact needs to hear that. So we try to treat everybody as an A-lister. Now, I'll tell you, I do invite my friends and other contacts that I have in if I think they have something very important to say. It's a variety of people that I know over the years. I actually worked for 5 years at Walt Disney Imagineering and met a lot of great people there. And there's some people I actually bring in and say, can you come and just do your creativity path patterns for career? But she doesn't come as a keynoter. She comes as an attendee, just like everybody else. She sits with everybody else, she talks with everybody else, and then she does a presentation. And that's the way I prefer it to be. No hard sell. This can be a hard rule to enforce sometimes. Basically, I've found that people are pretty good about it if you tell them right up front. This isn't about selling. It's about sharing the information that you know. So we can have authors come in, we can have consultants come in and everything. And I always say to them, feel free to mention your website at the end of your talk. That's not what I'm talking about. What I don't want it to be is a sales presentation. I really want you to share real, useful, hard information with the people who are here. And that goes into our third rule, the rule of 2 feet. And this always sounds funny. The rule of 2 feet is this. If you are in a session, if you are in a breakout session, if you are listening to a presentation, if you are in a room with a speaker and you're not getting any value out of it, you are freely encouraged, in fact, highly encouraged, to use your own 2 feet and go and find another session that is useful to you, that is important to you, that it teaches you something. Okay? And that's one way that we fight the hard sell too, because hard sell people will see en masse audiences get up and walk out. Now I try to tell people, if you're doing a presentation, understand that's part of the game. And we do this in our opening session. We sort of explain these rules. We said, if you're presenting something, don't be upset if someone walks out of your room. They're just going to find, they're using the rule of 2 feet and going find something that matters, is more important, that has more information, that is more on target for what they want and need. And in some cases, what I tell them too is, the fact is they want to see 2 sessions that are at the same time, and so they're going to get half of yours and they're going to go get half of theirs because they want to hear a little bit of both. So you have to be fully prepared for that if you're going to present at a career camp or in any unconference actually. One of the things I always saw as the main heart of Career Camp is we focus on career development. There's a reason career, the word career is in there. This isn't about getting a job today. How many people do job fairs right now at their organizations? Very popular. They're you see them ubiquitous. You see them basically. That's one method that we use on and on. Anthony does a job fair at College of the Canyons. What we have found is that Career Camp is an excellent balance to what, unfortunately, I see sometimes as a kind of meat market approach of the job fair. I hear so many people complain about it. You know, I went there and all they were doing was taking my resume and moving me down the line, or worse yet, all they were doing was handing out cards that says, go to our website and fill out your resume online. That frustrates the living daylights out of people, and I can tell you that if you haven't heard that, which I'm probably sure you have, I hear it from nearly everyone who comes to a career camp. They hate that aspect of it. Career Camp focuses on a day of learning, of expanding. We have resume reviews hosted again by one of the attendees. We had one gentleman, one of our co-chairs, who was just really good at it, and he would do a whole breakout session on just, reviewing your resume. Plus he had some great talks about it. But it's really about building the career you deserve. And that's a subtitle that I've given to Career Camp, and it's a subtitle I've used in my career column since it began. Helping to build the career you deserve. Because I believe everyone deserves a great career. We're not entitled to it. This isn't something, I get it because I'm just... No. You have to work at it, but we all deserve it. To me, it's one of those inalienable rights that falls under the pursuit of happiness clause in the Declaration of Independence. We all do deserve it. And so I take Career Camp as a way of developing that. I often do get pushback from people who say, well, is there going to be hiring companies there? Am I going to be able to hand out my resume to people? Is it a job fair? And I very clearly say to them, no, this is not a job fair. This is perhaps the other side of the coin, but it's truly about career development. And we can have talks. We've had talks about etiquette. We've had talks about how to dress for success. We've had talks on creativity. I give talks about how to find your career path in life, so on and so forth. Why Career Camp? This is something. Now you're going to hear the part of the talk that I gave Anthony when I first met him. And it's one of those meetings. We both remember it so well. It's been 6 years now, but we both remember it so well because a mutual friend introduced us and brought me into Anthony's office and said, okay, sell him your idea. And we had done, I think we'd done the one Career Camp LA previously. So we sort of had a little bit of a track record. But the thing that Career Camp brings is its low cost, first and foremost. I have always made it a point that it should be free to attendees. If someone is unemployed, if someone is long-term unemployed, money is an issue. Even $5 is an issue. And I've always felt that as someone who has been unemployed at times in my career, I understand that. Now, conversely, there are people who say, well, if you don't charge anything, how do people know it's worth anything? And I prefer to always err on the side of, if I can get them in the door the first time, they'll be convinced and they'll bring a friend. And that's what's happened over the years. We have that first person that comes in and they suddenly bring more people and people hear about it, and it does just help to build the audience that comes in year after year. The organizing costs are also very low in most cases. And Anthony says I will say, we never asked the college for money. The thing that I went to Anthony for, the thing we went to College of the Canyons for, and the reason this is Anthony's project and not my project, is because he works at college, we get the use of the facilities for free. That will be your biggest issue. Getting a venue, finding a place to hold this. And again, it doesn't have to be a perfect place, but you do need a place to get together with your people to hold a career camp. And by partnering with the community college, we were able to do that. The first Career Camp LA was actually held at a congregational church in Northridge. And it worked great. It worked fine. We had a nice room. It sort of cemented some of my ideas of how you organize one of these events. And again, totally free. We have gift bags that people receive when they come in. We have authors give their books away. We have local businesses give away car washes and dry cleaning. How many people, when they're unemployed and they're going out on interview after interview and after interview, what do they need? They need their suit. They need their clothes to look nice. You know, a little coupon for a free dry cleaning can go a long way to some people. We have food coupons to give away. We've actually, in the first years of CareerCamp SCV, we had local restaurants would actually either donate food, because we do like to try, it's not required, but I like to try and feed people breakfast, and I like to try and feed people lunch, and I'll give you some reasons for that. But in this case, we actually had restaurants who would either donate those meals or would give us an extremely good price. The Jersey Mike's chain, the local Jersey Mike's, gave us an excellent price, basically a wholesale price on feeding 100 and some people at, I think, the first and the second conference at CareerCamp SCV. You can go out into the community and find the support. And of course with Anthony, part of the, and WorkSource too, I've worked with Carrie and some stuff too, part of the role is to go out and serve the community, not just the students at the college, but also serve the community as well. And this is a great way of doing it, because you go out, the companies in your local community get an opportunity to promote gently to your attendees, and your attendees get something small in return. I will say about feeding people, it never fails to impress me that one of the first things I hear out of people's mouths is, "Oh my gosh, you got breakfast for us? You've got coffee for us?" Yes, that is such a small thing you would think, but it's so nice. Now there's an ulterior motive for it too. If you feed people lunch at the middle of your day, they don't go off campus. You don't lose them in the middle of the day, perhaps not to return. So if you can feed them lunch, it's a great time. You get a great hour for networking in the middle of the day. And I always tell people, if you sat with someone at breakfast, sit with someone else at lunch. And I use that whole metaphor and get people mixed up and mingling. But the ulterior motive is, if you feed them lunch, they're not going to scatter to the four winds. One case, we didn't have any food service for lunch, but we promoted it right up front and said, bring your brown bag. And I would say 90% of the people did. They brought a lunch. We all sat around a big quad. This was at LA Southwest College, kind of South Central Los Angeles, and we all sat in a nice big courtyard, had lunch together, and had the same type of experience we would have had if we had someone serving us lunch. So the cost involved can be very, very low, and your goal there is to reach out to the community and use them to offset any cost that might arise. I've been really surprised. The Toyota dealership in Santa Clarita has basically paid for they did our lunches, right, for the last 2 years?
They actually give us $200 for the event, and Logics gave us $500 for the event.
Yeah. So there are companies out there who have PR, promotional budgets that they spend on charitable events. Okay? You can go out and easily access that money, because they're always looking for great things to promote. Yes, sir?
We had a dentist who donated $200 just to get his name on it, because we make a flyer, put their logos on it, so they get the advertisement for it. So $200 is nothing, and we get his name out in the community, knowing how many people are going to be there. So you can get donations, using the advertisement as part of it.
And I know it's a bit of a wishy-washy term, kind of overused term these days, but one of the things I really feel about CareerCamp is it is a win-win, and it has to be a win-win for everybody. So win-win. Everybody has to win in this. The attendees have to win, the presenters have to win by getting their message out, or perhaps doing a light promotion of the people around them. The donators get their promotion of the people. Everybody has to win. If someone if everyone isn't winning, someone is losing, and you don't want that to happen because it will change the feel of the event. And for me, that's also one reason I don't try not to charge for the events, because I think it changes the expectation of the event. The way I explain it is, if you go to an unconference and there's no toilet paper in the bathroom, you don't complain that there's no toilet paper in the bathroom. You actually go and find the person who has the toilet paper and put new toilet paper in the bathroom. If you've paid $5 to be there, your first thing is like, why isn't there any toilet paper in the bathroom? I pay for this event. It's really, you wouldn't think it's the way, but humans are odd little animals. And they get these expectations in their heads sometimes. And I think, personally, that if you can avoid that, you are all better off. By having a free event, people feel like they're in it together, rather than an attendee at some commercial event. We're going to we sort of used CareerCamp SEV as an example already. We're going to delve into a little bit. I'm going to take you through a day of a career camp. And this is sort of what I did with Anthony too, because we had I think 1 or 2 events before this. I said, I know how this works, and I'm going to explain it to him. We usually run from 9 to 4. It's varied a little bit over the years. I will say we've tried running it on a Friday. Saturday is your day. If you're going to do one of these, Saturday is your day. People are available. They're not tied up with whatever part-time work they might have. It allows people who are underemployed too, which is one of the terms I often use. People says career camp is for the unemployed, the underemployed, and those just looking to better their career. And I think it's important to give them an opportunity to come. And Saturday is that best day. People feel they can come. They don't have to stay the whole day, but what I found is people will often come into the sign-up desk and say, I can only be here half the day. You see them at the end of the day. Because they obviously found a value there that overweighed anything else that they might have been thinking about that day, and they stay there. So people come in. We use a service called Eventbrite, and I have some links at the end that I'll show you, for tickets. If your event is free, Eventbrite tickets are free. You set up a little page on their website. You can do all sorts of different ticketing things. We basically have 1 ticket. I'm an attendee. But you can gather information from the attendees. You can send them automatically e-tickets. They're PDF documents so they can either show on their phone and or print out that we can then read with our smartphones and say attend. So we actually know not did they just sign up, they actually came. It's like a big operation. It's like a big theater operation ticketing system, totally usable for free if your event is free. We bring people in. They have their breakfast. This was actually at the lunch service, I think, now that I look at it. We have donuts, coffee, bagels, cream cheese, whatever. And for the first half hour or so, it's basically just people getting registered, coming in, and starting to mingle, starting to sit down at tables much like this and chat. Yes, Anthony?
Just to add on one of the parts, if I see these details, if you don't mind. The breakfast, Starbucks donated all the time. And the bagels were donated by Western Bagels, the bagel shops. They get the extra bagels. So we got almost everything for free, and we bought the orange juice. And actually, that was donated by Welch. They just gift cards so that we can buy orange juice.
Then we give a short, and I do mean short, and I have hammered this into Anthony, that our opening session is short, no more than 15 minutes. We use that to basically welcome people, explain the 3 rules, explain how we start the conference. Now, you may notice in the back there, see that whiteboard in the back with the blue stripes on it? That's how the schedule board looks when you arrive at a career camp. It's empty. Okay? We set aside a certain number of rooms, and then in this same room that you just saw there, we use tables for breakout sessions. We'll just say that one's A and this one's B or something like that for open breakout sessions. That's what the board looks like. And we have our time scheduled out. We have our room numbers that people can go to in a different wing of this building for the actual presentational things like this. And people are kind of thrown off with that. And that's probably the hardest sell to people too, is I don't have a schedule. How do you do a conference without a schedule? And we explained to them, you're highly encouraged to participate in whatever way you find most comfortable. If you want to give a stand-up presentation, that's fine. You want to host a breakout session. You want to just engage in a discussion. One of the best sessions that I ever saw was people were talking at breakfast and realized that several of them had worked abroad. They'd worked in Europe, they'd worked in Asia, whatever, and they realized, we have a lot to share with people who might be interested. Let's just hold a breakout session of people who are thinking about working abroad. So you had 3 people that had actually done it, and then you had another 10 people at the table who wanted to learn about it. Never would have happened had these group of people come together for a career camp. Those types of things are so amazing to me when they happen. We've also had situations where people were going to present on the same topic, and they realized, oh, let's do this together, because we both have different perspectives on this particular thing. I'm an HR person, I'm a hiring boss, here's how we work together to hire people, whatever. That's what the board looked like before our first session ever starts. People are given Post-it notes and Sharpies and say, okay, go put your topics on the board that we're going to discuss today. And they select a room and a time, they write their topic on a Post-it note, and they stick it on the board. Now this was on a whiteboard. We've actually, the CareerCamp LA, it was just a white wall. And we just put up tape marks and stick the Post-its on, and that's how it works. It doesn't require a lot of technology at all. But we have our lunch break put in there so people know when that is, and then our wrap-up event at the end. But literally, before the day even starts, most of the board is already full. Yes, sir?
So if I follow correctly, the attendees in their tables will determine what the topics for these breakout sessions are.
People can do it as a group. People can do it as individuals as well. If it's someone I've invited in, they'll have their, Joanne does a career path pattern stock, which I found so useful years ago when she gave it to me when I worked in engineering, that I invite her in whenever she can to do this talk. And so, but she'll write that on a Post-it. Again, just as an attendee though, select a time in a room and put it up. So it's...
Local Toastmasters.
Yes. In Santa Clarita Valley, we've actually had a lot of support from the local Toastmasters.
And is there a facilitator at a table to help?
You don't see me there. I'm standing next to the board. Anthony's standing next to the board going, oh, what do you want to talk about? I've actually convinced people to give presentations. They start talking to me about, I really don't have anything to present. And then we get talking, and it's like, what do you mean? That's a topic. You just gave me the topic you should present on right there about, tax changes that affect freelancers or something, in the work world. Guess what? Ding, ding, ding. Write it down and put it on the board. So it's we do have people who kind of help people. If we see, usually that takes the form of if we see complementary talks, like in the same topic or something, we'll say, you need to talk to him and see if you can come together and maybe do one together. That just frees up a slot on the board then. Yes?
So you're saying once the board fills up, that's it? I mean, everybody just,
Pretty much, yeah. Actually, in the first time we did it, people were a little tentative. Every year since then, because we have some returning people and some new people, we actually have to monitor a little bit and say, oh, people want to do two talks. They put up one first, and then if there's an open slot after the first session, you can put up the second talk and stuff like that. Yes, sir.
And it kind of creates its own frenzy too. You can see what made me nervous first of all. When he was first pitching this thing to me, he told me about the empty board. And I go, no, when I go to conferences, I have speakers, and I got times, and he showed me this empty board, and he goes, this is what it looks like. And then he showed me these, pictures of this is what it could look like. And yeah, right, yeah, people are going to go up there. People don't like to talk, or they didn't come to present. Next thing you know, people are putting it up there, and all of a sudden there's only, like you can see, there are 3 spots left.
Yeah.
If you want to speak, you better get it up there quick, because those are going to fill. So all of a sudden I'm writing resumes, and I go put mine out there, because now I want to talk about resumes, because I'm an expert. Right? So everyone's an expert in their area, and they jump up there. It's kind of interesting. It's a little slow at first sometimes.
I always make a point. I always have mine pre-written on a Post-it note, and I walk over to the board and I smack it up on a time. So, this is how you do it, like some mechanical process. But it does help to kind of prime the pump a little bit. Yes.
How many people typically attend?
CareerCamp SEV, we usually average around between 100 to 150 people. I have done much smaller events. The original CareerCamp LA was about 100 actually. We did another one at that same venue because of we moved CareerCamp LA down into the LA Basin, down to LA Southwest College, and so we did just a San Fernando Valley one in that same location where we did the original CareerCamp, and we had about 35 people. And I'd always seen unconferences at a much larger, 100 people. That's kind of my magic number. 35 people was amazing, but totally different. It was one of the first things we could do. With 35 people, I could actually have everyone introduce themselves, which we can't do at a bigger event. That's kind of up to them. They have to do it during the meet and greets and stuff like that. At that one, everyone got to stand up and got 30 seconds to say who they were and what they do and what they're looking for. And that changed the whole feel of the day. It became very intimate. and very close-knit, and it was quite dramatic to see it in that light. So don't let the numbers scare you off. It really does work. I've even pitched similar unconferences as an interdepartmental meeting at larger companies, where you have like the 4 big departments get together. Maybe you got 50, 60 people, because they don't communicate normally. This is something I found at my corporate world. Departments don't communicate very well, if at all. And if you can bring them into something like this, it really does help. I'm gonna go to her, and then I'll be right back to you. Okay? Yes.
I'm just curious, any marketing to students? Like, I was confused when I first started.
We make flyers and post them around campus, just like we do our workshops and our job fairs, and we put it on the website. We actually spent some ad money with the money we got donated. We put a couple ads on the community. For sure. Yeah.
We get lucky in Santa Clarita. This is where Santa Clarita, one of the reasons it's the most popular one, even though we're inside the bigger Los Angeles. You think CareerCamp LA would be the big one. Santa Clarita is very unique in that it is its own community. And it's a smaller community. It's a smaller pond. It has its own radio station. It has its own newspaper. It has its own community groups and stuff like that. And the fact is, we can get ourselves above the noise level much more easily in Santa Clarita than I can do in LA. That's been one of our chronic problems in LA, is getting above everything else that's going on in Los Angeles, as big as it is. Yes?
The other thing that always struck me, I teach at college, students, young people have gone to these unconferences, they've gone to the BarCamp on technology, they've gone to one-on-one, so they understand what it is when they see it. We don't. They know it is. Oh, what are those? Those are cool.
So at 9 o'clock, or 9:30, I think we do, is what, 9:30 or 9:45, whatever the board said there. We fiddle with the times over the years, but we start the first session. And people look at the board, they decide, I'm going to go to room D and listen to a talk on this, and away they go. And one of the things we build in is each session is 45 minutes with a 15-minute break. And that 15-minute break I have found very, very important. I've been to other unconferences where it's smaller. There is so much that happens in that little 15 minutes. It is amazing. First of all, people need a chance to come back to the board and see what they want to do for the next session. They're simply logistics of, I need to see what's next. Because you don't have a printed schedule like we do today to say, oh, these 4 things are going on, I'll go to that one. You already pre-decide. You have to go back to the board and say, well, what's in this section? Because things may have moved, things might have been added after someone realized, oh, I actually want to do this now too. So you need that time to go back. So you always try to have a lobby area, kind of in this case, it's a big room where we meet for breakfast and lunch in that initial meeting. At the church, it was simply the main part of the church, kind of the Sunday school building, and then we had 3 rooms off of that we could use for our meeting rooms. The lobby is very important, and that 15 minutes is very important, I think, between sessions. It really does facilitate conversation and interchange. This is just kind of 8 random topics that have been presented at previous career camps. The first one I did, Career Compass, Finding Your Career North, Who Are You Today, Interview with a New Attitude, Social Media in Your Career. That was a discussion. Literally, we just posted up as a breakout and said, who wants to come and talk about social media in your career? I would facilitate, or one of the other co-chairs would facilitate, and away we'd go. We'd talk for 45 minutes. That was never at a loss for people, or always ran out of time. It's that people really need to know about the topic. It's one of my pet things too. One of the other things I focus on is new media and social media, and it combining with careers. That's just happened more and more over the last several years. Social media and careers go hand in hand and need to be discussed in that way. Guerrilla LinkedIn, What's a Resume For? One of our co-chairs, Mitch Creighton, used to do that one. Very, very popular. What a Success and Why You Might Have It Already, and much, much more. At the end of each unconference, I actually make a point of collecting all the names and all the topics and putting those on the blog so people can see what was presented, and links to the people who presented them if possible and available so people can get more information. I make a point, much like I am today, of recording everything I do. And I highly recommend, if you're not doing it for yourself already, if you're speaking at an event, no matter how big, no matter how small, capture it in some way. Capture it on audio, record the audio on your phone, use a video camera, use your phone, use your iPad, whatever. Capture that information, because you might have, how many people do we have in the room? About almost 20 people here in the room today. That's a great audience. But the fact is, online, this same talk will have an audience of perhaps hundreds, if not thousands, if it's something that really catches people's eye. this is going to go on the CareerCamp website as an explanation of what CareerCamp is, as to help along that process. So I highly recommend you do capture that stuff. It will really serve you well, and it will actually serve well the people that you are helping. If they're doing something, if they're speaking at a hacker group or a maker fair or something, tell them you really should be capturing that, because that's something that you can share online. I have a phrase I use in my career talks. The biggest thing you need to be doing today in careers is telling people what you do and how well you do it. Well, guess what? Social media and new media is the way to accomplish that. One of the biggest ways and one of the easiest ways. So CareerCamp can help in that regard. With the Toastmasters, it also helps. They have a certain amount of speeches that they have to give. They are uber prepared. That is the thing about a Toastmaster. When they come in, you know exactly what you're going to get, and you get a damn good speech. Because that's what they're there for. That's what they do. They're kind of using two of their interests, or even more, and combining them all together. And you've given them a great venue. You're getting information from them that other people need to hear, and they get a chance to further their Toastmaster work. So why wouldn't it work? It happened that one of our co-chairs was a member of the local Toastmasters group, and so that really helped in that regard. But don't underestimate that possibility. Organize your concerns. And another picture of Anthony. I stand in the balcony and shoot down at the main floor as people are registering. Organize your concerns. First and foremost, what do you mean there's no schedule? That's the first one I get. How do you know? What if nobody wants to present? And that was my first concern when I did my first career camp as an organizer. I said, God, what if no one puts anything up? Well, the fact is I had 3 other co-chairs who wrote and presented on career topics. And I looked around and said, well, heck, if just the 4 of us do 2 talks each, that's 8 talks, that's 8 hours. We've already filled the schedule board. If no one else wants to present, we can give a whole conference ourselves with no trouble at all. And that helped to tamp down the fear of, okay, what if no one? And the fact is, it surprises you. No, people do. People have things to share. People have interesting and important information to share with those around them. And they will stand up. At the end of every career camp, I am walking around with this huge smile, because it's like, it worked again. It worked. And you have to tamp down as an organizer. You have to be able to say, I set up the room, I set up the time, I set up the people. When you just got to step back and say, that's it. Okay, now it's yours. And the fact is, because the success of the event depends on those attending, they step up. They want a good conference. They make a good conference. It seems the hippy-dippy, mumbo-jumbo type of explanation, but that's what I've seen. Since the responsibility for producing a great event is on them to produce the event that they want in particular, they do. And yes, we offer our guidance, we nudge, we cajole, we push a little bit here and there. But otherwise, the day goes on pretty much with us walking around going, okay, your 45 minutes is up. Please return to the lobby to check out what you want to see next session. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, this seems like it would have a great effect on boosting people's self-esteem.
Oh, very good. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, that's something that's later down the thing, and I say, and I hadn't thought of that, honestly, when I decided to do these. But as I started to do them, again, there's another term, empowerment, right? It's beaten into the ground. It just doesn't really it has a negative connotation these days, really. But that's truly what you see with these events. You have people who are long-term unemployed who don't feel they have any control in their life. And for one day, they control something. And I have seen people, and this is so heartening to me and kind of an effect I didn't know I was going to have, but you see people come in, beaten down, they sign in, they have their coffee and this. By the end of the day, they're recharged. They're ready to go out and do the good fight again. You've given them something back. You've given them a little bit of empowerment to say, no, you can do this. Hopefully we've given you some hard information you can use. I often say when I'm troubleshooting something as a computer person, I'm not done until I'm out of ideas. Well, a lot of people come in out of ideas. They're out of ideas, they're out of energy. And if you can give some more ideas and some more energy back to them, they can then go out and make their career better for themselves. But it's not something I originally thought was going to happen, but then I saw it in practice. I was like, oh, well, of course, it makes total sense that it works that way. But it was great to see it in action. Yes?
One of the concerns that I had initially was coming up from colleges. Okay, so one of the concerns was this is a community event. Now we get to throw our job fairs just because because I guess they've been doing it for 20 years and that's the thing to do. There's no job fairs. So this was a little bit different of a pitch, and I was expecting the question, what's in it with college? There's a job fair, we're helping students, and even though the community members in or whatever. This is almost twofold, because some of the people there, one of the breakout sessions almost always is something about exploring careers, furthering your education, and things like that. And so these are future students. And that's kind of the way I pitched it to my dean, as I was trying to promote, just using the venue for free and having this big, spending my time and energy doing this as a staff member, was that these could be future students. We're going to promote it that way. Our college is real big on being involved in our community. So this was huge. The president backed us on.
Part of that being its own community. This is the college in the community. So.
Good exposure for the colleges and all the newspapers and the local TV station picked it up, and so it was, I felt like I had support, but at the beginning I was a little nervous, in terms of how I was going to get that support of it. And the other thing is, no one's allowed to hard sell, as we mentioned earlier. It's not an advertisement fair where there's going to be booths set up, except for the college. So we had our university center, they had a booth. We had our CTV program had a booth.
Well, our work source is in this same building. People have to walk to get from the lobby to the presentation rooms. They have to walk by the work source counter back and forth and back and forth. And the work source people initially were kind of like, we can't really have our staffers come in on a Saturday. So I'm going to have 100 to 150 people walk by your counter multiple times this entire day.
They were signing them up on jobs.
Yep. And it took once. Did it once, and of course they saw that, oh gosh, there is a lot of, yes, we can actually reach some of the people we're supposed to be reaching. I've been trying to coordinate with other work source offices to do CareerCamp type stuff. Hasn't happened yet, almost did, but it takes a lot more work in that regard to get those things happening.
I have a question for Anthony.
Mhm.
Did you ever come across a topic that was suggested that you didn't have somebody there to speak on that topic? Or
No, the topics come from the people who are there. So I have no preconceived ideas of any topics.
Well, I think,
you don't have like a facilitator?
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yes, we do. What'll happen is if someone, there's kind of three levels. You have someone wants to give a presentation, someone wants to facilitate, so I'm an expert in resume, so I'll do the resume thing. And there's a third type of breakout, which is, I don't know anything about this, but I want to learn more about social media in your career. And yeah, what'll happen is the co-chairs kind of keep their ear out, and when we hear something like that, one of us will slot in to that session and become the facilitator, not the expert necessarily, but will become the facilitator for that discussion and hopefully, bring our knowledge to that topic as well. Thankfully, because of the people we deal with, most of the co-chairs are well versed, I should say, in career topics, and so we can, if we can at least facilitate and usually have something to offer as well. What's great though there even then is you find that you don't have to do much teaching or presenting. The conversation itself is what's important, and that's where the people, they actually create the value then for themselves, because it's in their discussion of, well, I wonder if I should do this, and someone else like, oh, I tried that, and I did this, and this, and it worked in this way, or it didn't work in this way. They start to share the information they already have amongst themselves, and so usually will come up. But yes, we do kind of keep your ear open. If someone's, well, I need to learn more about X, we'll either find someone or we'll take on the facilitation role ourselves. That's one of the freedoms we have. We can do that. I do want to reinforce what I said earlier. I'll be right with you. I can't read that.
15 minutes.
Thank you. I'm old. I can't read that. I do want to reinforce the venue. While we have a near perfect venue at the University Center of College of the Canyons with electronic classrooms, a nice lobby area, beautiful furniture, beautiful new building, it's great. It's not required. It's certainly not required, and I don't want you to think that's required. It can happen in the middle of an open field. It really can. It's the concept of an unconference that's powerful, not where you hold it. And sometimes you may need to start out small. You need to maybe start out with something that's not perfect, but you can build it into something that gains. Everything you gain should be important. BarCamps, the ones I attended, the more general unconferences, got bogged down in this concept. Everyone wanted to give a T-shirt away to attendees. Well, that costs money, and that it started to become an issue. It's like, I don't need another T-shirt. I just want to go to the conference. Can we just make? And so be aware of that and be wary of those types of things. Don't add encumbrances that don't add a value to your unconference, because that's really what it's all about. It's about what people learn and the people that come. Yes, sir.
It may or may not be appropriate to ask this question.
Every question is appropriate. Every question is appropriate.
So, I've worked with the County of Ventura
Mm-hmm.
in the Workforce Center.
Mm-hmm.
We work with the WIA program.
Get to know me.
So, the question is, what successes or failures or issues have you had working with Workforce Center in LA County? That are specific to St. Clarita Valley.
Probably, and I often say my wife works in the entertainment industry. I stand outside, I point and laugh. You work in WorkSource. I stand outside and I point and I laugh. I don't understand all the problems you have, but one of the problems I know you have. Yeah. Well, one of the problems I know that all of us here really have, is convincing people to use our services. We offer these services, and it's difficult to get people to partake in them. That's a chronic complaint I hear from work sources. We offer this, that, and the other, but how do I get people in? And that's actually what caused the one thing not to happen at the work source I was working with, is we couldn't get an audience. Despite our advertising and our push, we just couldn't get a number of people in to do it. So that I would say is probably the biggest issue. And I'm not sure I know how to fix that. I've experienced myself in little things. Free events tend to not get the attention that they deserve because people perceive a lack of value there. And I think a lot of governmental services fall under that. Why should I go there? They don't know what you do. They don't understand how you can help them. So it's very difficult in that regard. That's why I think we've had a success, because the College of the Canyons is so community-oriented. They have a huge mailing list that we could use. They have a signboard out on the street. They have, they have access to the radio station and various things. We just had the ability to reach beyond the smaller community of the college into the larger community as a whole. And I think that is truly what brought us the success. We had this nice sized community that was somewhat self-sustaining with its own things, and it just sort of worked. Once the word started to spread, it really worked in that way.
Did the WorkSource Center staff or management get involved in participating more than just putting on brochures at a table?
Not initially.
The first year was hard. As I said, the first year it was like, oh, I can't ask my staffers to come in on a Saturday. And I kind of laid it on the line and said, we're going to have 100 people walking by your counter through your office all day. And so they did. They stepped up. I will give them that credit. They made that commitment. It was a different director at that time, I believe. But they made the commitment. They brought in 2 of their staffers, and those staffers reported back, oh my God, we signed so many people up, and we handed out all this stuff, and it was an obvious success. And so that then cemented, more and more work with them moving forward. Now again, we have a very good arrangement there in the WorkSource is in the facility where we're doing this conference. So, that helps a lot, because you just have that foot traffic that you can kind of guarantee them is going to be there, so they don't feel that they've showed up for nothing. Now they actually set up WorkSource, is that their table out on the balcony as well? There's 2 tables on the balcony. Career Center and WorkSource. We actually have 2 separate tables. We don't really have a booth area or anything like that but they do set up tables kind of in the walkway between this lobby and the presentation room. So they also get, even more traffic in that regard. And people really do take advantage of it there. I have heard, and again, I'm an outsider in this, but I have heard from people, attendees, going, oh, I didn't know WorkSource did that. Oh, I don't know that they can help me with this, and it's like they didn't know what the services were. They had to be exposed to them in some way.
Actually, this last time, the director of the WorkSource Center actually did a breakout session.
Yeah.
What services the WorkSource Center can offer you, and a bunch of people who didn't know about it, and they just started curiosity, so good advertising for them.
It seems like it would be good to have at the WorkSource Center.
It would be.
That's what we try to do. We run into issues. One of the reasons that this isn't my event that I bring in, it's an outside third party. I sell it to some of the champion who has the access to the facilities, and there was even issues about, could we bring in third party food? And, well, once Anthony made this his event, all those issues went away.
They were going to charge us for the room.
Yeah.
Because he
Which-
was coming from the outside. So
Yeah.
as soon as I said this is a career center event, they would have been
And that's actually my goal. It's not my desire to become a billionaire running Unconferences. I think that the concept has tons of power, and through my career writing that I've done, this was outreach from that. I just want to see them happen. And it sounds, again, hippy-dippy name, but I want to see change. I want to have an effect on the world, and this is one way that I can do it. But I do need to find a champion at each of the places to do this, because it's their event. I will come in and give them all the support and teach them how to do it and help them facilitate and tell them, why this works and why this doesn't, and all this stuff, and help with the technology and all that. But it's really up to the person on site who has to, champion it, get some other co-chairs together so they don't do all the work and work from that regard. Yes?
Are you going to show an example of the flyer and how you get flyer from the customer?
The flyer. I actually don't have a copy of my presentation.
Like, I'm a customer, I see the flyer, what customization do you want to do that? What do I get out of it?
You produced the flyer, so that.
Well, the very first year we did it, my biggest concern was how we could get in here. It's a free event. We did it now. That's the thing. We had 250 people sign up on Eventbrite, and about 120 showed up. Huge no-show rate. That was a big thing for me. I was like, whoa, oh my God,
And I found
120 people showed up, and it's free. So you look at it both ways. But that's the downfall of a free event.
Anthony, could we arrange to if we can get your email? I'll send you some of the old flyers so you can see what Anthony did. I did a few of the original ones, and then Anthony did since CareerCamp SCV is his project. For the CareerCamp LA stuff, I did that myself.
Free meals was a big catch.
Although I will say we don't normally. This is a caveat. We don't normally advertise that we're feeding people because God forbid we can't. So I never want to something I learned at Walt Disney Imagineering. It's a mantra that you hear throughout the entire Disney company. Under promise and over deliver. If that line's 45 minutes, tell people it's an hour, because when they get into 45 minutes, they'll think, oh, wow, that line moved faster than I thought it would. Never over promise. So I always made a point of not telling people until the very last minute when we knew we had funding and everything. I would never mention it. I would then maybe we'd add a lot of licenses like coffee and light snacks served or something. But definitely we don't use it as a sales tool. At least not haven't. Oh, sorry.
I was going to add on to the numbers really quickly. Yes, it's 200 sign up and 100 come, but when you do straight mailers, 2% is considered good, and 100 is 250%.
Yeah, direct mail. Yeah, it's 2% is that whole thing. Because we're running, I'll get to your question in just a second. Because we're running out of time, if you wanted, these are some of the tools we use to actually organize. People often ask me, how often do we meet in person to organize a career camp? We don't. We meet almost entirely online up until the day of the event. We use Google Docs for all our collaboration. We have actually had live brainstorming sessions in the same Google Doc, literally all of us typing at once in the doc to collect up information. We use WordPress.com for our blogs, which is free. Eventbrite, free for any free event. Twitter, Facebook, and social media, those are all free. MailChimp is a mailing list, email mailing list system, which we use for free, up to 10,000 names or something like that. So those are some of your tools that you make the best use of. Want to know more about me? Douglas at CareerCampInternational.org. CareerCampInternational.org. If you visit the website, there are two pages on there. Why should I organize a career camp and what is career camp? Which sort of encapsulates what I've said here today. And so you can check all that out. And how many minutes do we have, Rose?
Oh, you have like 5 or 6.
Okay.
You can check out the CareerCamp SCV site.
Yeah. It links off of, I gave this one just to have one URL. But yeah, the CareerCamp SCV is careercampscv.wordpress.com because we're using that free WordPress site. But if you go to CareerCamp International, you'll see links to the CareerCamp SCV and as well as the other.
We have the flyer on our computer.
The flyers are still there, yeah, because you know how blogs work, things just roll off. So if you actually search on the site, you would find the flyer. Search on the word flyer. In fact, I think I always use that in the title, and you'll find it. So that's some of the tools we use. That's how to get more and less. Now, real quick, we have about 5 minutes. Remember I asked you the question at the beginning? Okay, now you can decide to pass, or you can say something. You have 5 seconds. Go. What would you do if you had one thing that you would say, career-related, that everyone at this conference needs to hear today? If you want to skip. Yeah.
Let's get to it.
Anybody? Jump in. Yes.
I
I do my job for
I would do it for free.
That's a great, I would do it for free. Over here.
If you're not a member of CPA, please join.
Ding, ding, ding.
We're here to support you.
Back here.
Oh, no, just get really, really creative.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Read the book, Excellence at Work.
What was that?
Excellence at work. Yes. You had,
I double what Abby said in her last thing, which is what I do in CareerCamp, how to write a cover letter. Always tell something personal about yourself that they can tie into.
you never know. If you see the picture of the dog on the interviewing boss's desk and you have a dog, don't let that go unsaid. You now have a connection point. Anybody else? Real quick.
Success is an iceberg.
Very good. Very good. Actually, yes. Down here.
The 10 things that you're forgetting to put on your resume.
Bingo. Okay, every one of those, by the way, was a topic you could give at a career camp. And now you've experienced just a wee bit of what an unconference is all about. Okay? That's exactly the type of things we do. And in a smaller environment, you can do very quick things like this where you just zap people through. One of the other things I do is how many people know what a hashtag is? Hashtags, right? Okay. That's very common at most conferences. You say, give me 3 hashtags that describe you. Mine is teaching, help, education. Okay, those are my 3 hashtags off the top of my head today. You can think about the same thing, and that's the type of thing that you can do. I want to thank you so much. If you want more information personally from me, you can visit any of these methods and get a hold of me. I want to thank you all so much for attending the session today. I hope you've gotten something out of it. I hope you found something perhaps you could include in your own efforts to reach out to your clientele and your people and help them to build the career that they deserve.